Chapter 25. When Xianxia entered the contribution hall, she secretly glanced back and saw that Yang Kai had already left. She couldn't help but sigh in relief. It was probably because of what happened in the morning that made her feel a little guilty. Just as her heart was in a mess, she heard Treasurer Meng sigh from behind the counter. "What's wrong, master?" Xianxia asked. "I'm just feeling sorry for that little brat." Treasurer Meng sighed. "He's a good child, willing to endure hardships and work hard. His character is also good, and his temper isn't bad either." When Xianxia heard her master praise Kai Yang, she immediately became angry. She thought to herself, "You still don't know what he did to your disciple this morning. He actually went so far as to take off all his clothes, sullying your disciple's eyes and scaring her." Treasurer Meng kept on talking, and the more Xianxia listened, the angrier she became. She reached out her hand and slapped the counter. Put! The sound of something being smashed rang out. Treasurer Meng looked over and his face immediately became distorted. He howled, "My 20 contribution points worth of Earth-level low-level blood Lingji mushroom? This is a blood Lingji mushroom?" Xianxia looked at the powdered mushroom on the counter and wondered if her master's eyes were blurred. How could this be a blood Lingji mushroom? No, I saw wrongly." Treasurer Meng lightly blew on the counter and the powdered mushroom flew out. It was as if it was pinched by an invisible hand and scattered outside the door. "That's right, why did you come looking for me today?" Treasurer Meng's face became serious. "I broke through." Treasurer Meng's face twitched as he carefully examined Xianxia's realm. He couldn't help but nod. Good, I didn't see wrongly. Only your physique is suitable for this technique. Come, eat this pill, it'll stabilize your realm." Xianxia took the pill and hesitated for a moment before softly asking, "Master, how are your injuries?" Treasurer Meng smiled. "Don't worry about me, it's been so many years, it's not a big deal." Kai Yang was filled with excitement and anticipation as he rushed back to the wooden hut. Now that the 3-leaved chaos spirit flower and the dead Jedi tree grass had been prepared, and the quantity was not small, it should be enough for a while. Everything was ready except for the east wind. Yang Kai really wanted to know if the incense burner could really help him cultivate. The wooden hut was located in the most remote and desolate part of High Heaven Pavilion, so basically no one cared about it, so Yang Kai didn't need to worry about exposing his secret. Walking into the hut, he summoned the wordless black book and flipped to the 3rd page, then took out the incense burner and placed it beside the bed. He then took out the 3-leaved chaos spirit flower and the dead Jedi tree grass, stuffed the 2 herbs inside and closed the lid. In an instant, a faint fragrance filled the wooden hut. Yang Kai took a deep breath and carefully sensed it. He found that although this fragrance was a bit special, there was nothing noteworthy about it. Moreover, after he took a breath, his body didn't feel anything. However, from the holes in the incense burner's lid, a steady flow of fragrance drilled into Yang Kai's nostrils. It was like a slender snake, strangely enough, entering Yang Kai's body through his mouth and nose. It was as if there was something extra in his body, in his flesh, blood, meridians, and even his bone marrow. A numbing feeling spread throughout his body. Yang Kai didn't dare to be negligent, quickly taking the incense burner and preparing to cultivate. As soon as he took a step out, Yang Kai was surprised. His foot seemed to be filled with lead, incomparably heavy, and with this step, his physical strength was rapidly draining away. Taking another step, Yang Kai had the illusion that his whole body was about to collapse. Cold sweat broke out all over his body, and all his muscles tightened. The chi that he had just cultivated not long ago was beating in his meridians, and the bones all over his body were making cracking sounds. After the 3rd step, Yang Kai's legs went soft, and he directly fell to his knees, the incense burner in his hand rolling far away. With both hands on the ground, Yang Kai was motionless like a mountain, but his heavy breathing was like a broken bellows. His chest violently rose and fell, and his flesh and blood were twitching. His meridians, internal organs, and bones were expanding and contracting, and the numbing feeling was getting stronger and stronger. Yang Kai wanted to roar, but he firmly restrained himself. His current situation was clearly a state of overexhaustion. He had experienced this several times before, so Yang Kai was quite familiar with it. But just now, he had clearly only taken 3 steps, so how could he use up all his physical strength? Not only was his physical strength exhausted, even his spirit was exhausted. It was as if he hadn't slept for several days and nights, and his eyes were a little blurred. It could be said that his spirit had fallen to the lowest point, and he didn't even have the strength to move a finger. At this moment, the effects of the 3-leaved chaos spirit flower and the dead Jedi tree grass appeared in Yang Kai's mind. Both herbs were slightly poisonous, but the toxicity wasn't strong. Ordinary people could eat a few of them, but the former was harmful to the spirit, while the latter was harmful to the body. Combined with his current physical condition, Yang Kai somewhat understood. Perhaps it was because he had inhaled the strange fragrance in the incense burner, that was why this happened. But whether it was the 3-leaved chaos spirit flower or the dead Jedi tree grass, it was impossible for them to have such a strong medicinal effect. The mystery must have appeared in the incense burner. It could infinitely amplify the effects of these 2 herbs. He had obtained the unyielding golden skeleton, so his recovery ability was extremely strong. That day, he had cultivated for a long time without feeling tired, so naturally he couldn't reach his limit. Without reaching his limit, he couldn't force out his potential. But now it was different. He had only taken 3 steps, and he was already exhausted. If he reached his limit so easily, would he still be afraid of not being able to cultivate in the future? Yang Kai had always believed that a person's potential was limitless, and the key was how to dig it out. Although aptitude could affect a cultivator's growth, one's own efforts were also indispensable. So all these years, even if he knew that his aptitude was not good enough, he still worked tirelessly and never gave up on cultivating. Thinking of this, Yang Kai's spirit was lifted. His hands gradually used strength to support his exhausted body. His 2 legs trembled violently. Yang Kai's veins were exposed, and his eyes were about to burst. Little by little, inch by inch, he propped himself up. All the physical strength in his body was almost exhausted, and his consciousness was about to blur. But in his heart, an obsession fiercely burst forth. In his life, he had never had such a strong desire, the desire to win. Stand up. Pick yourself up from where you fell. Stand up is to break through the limit and win. Time had never passed so slowly. After a cup of tea's worth of time, Yang Kai half straightened his body. His feet stepped on the ground, and his legs were slightly bent, shaking like a pendulum. But the momentum of straightening his body was so firm, and even if it was slow, it did not change. Finally, accompanied by Yang Kai's roar, his body straightened up. He slightly staggered, but his feet firmly fixed in place. Chapter 26. At this moment, Yang Kai smiled. Even though his physical and mental strength were exhausted, his eyes couldn't see anything, his ears were ringing, and his brain was stinging like needles, he still smiled. He won. The joy of defeating himself was far stronger than defeating others. Just when Yang Kai thought he was going to faint, a warm feeling suddenly spread through his body. This warm feeling came from his bones, like the spring wind and rain, like rain after a long drought, scraping every inch of his skin, every inch of his flesh and blood, bringing a burst of vitality. His exhausted physical strength recovered a little, and even his mental strength was a lot better. Although he didn't fully recover, he didn't faint. Kaiyong didn't try to be brave anymore. Instead, he sat down on the ground and carefully examined the situation in his body. He discovered that the original numbness in his body had disappeared. Instead, it had become a kind of comfort, so comfortable that he almost moaned out loud. His whole body rhythmically pulsated, and with this pulsation, it was obvious that he had become more solid and explosive. The qi in his meridians was constantly pulsing, and his bones seemed to have become more solid. Just like this, his body seemed to have become a lot stronger. Yang Kai pondered. The warm feeling that came from his bones at the last moment should be the work of the unyielding golden skeleton. After experiencing this several times, Yang Kai could be considered to have grasped the key point. Only when he was unyielding and tenacious in the face of adversity could he stimulate the potential of the unyielding golden skeleton. If he had compromised in the face of adversity, the unyielding golden skeleton would not have provided him with any help. It really was a unique golden skeleton. Yang Kai chuckled. At this moment, he finally understood why the incense burner was able to help him cultivate. The medicinal effect of the herbs in the incense burner was magnified thousands of times. After inhaling it, it increased the speed of his physical strength loss and the degree of mental fatigue. That's why he only took 3 steps before he almost fainted. But this kind of medicinal effect magnified by the incense burner, although tyrannical, shouldn't cause any sequelae, otherwise it wouldn't be able to help him cultivate. Only by overcoming this difficulty and stimulating the recovery ability of the unyielding golden skeleton could he obtain real benefits, and only then would he be able to break through his limits and become stronger. The incense burner wafting out of the incense burner and the unyielding golden skeleton complemented each other. All of this was Yang Kai's own guess. But considering what had just happened, it was basically the truth. Next, Yang Kai had to verify it carefully. The strange fragrance in the incense burner never stopped. Even though there was no wind in the room, it still drifted towards Yang Kai. However, Yang Kai discovered that if he stayed where he was, the fragrance would not have any effect on him. After resting for an hour, Yang Kai felt that he had recovered a lot of strength. He stood up shakily, and Yang Kai once again stepped forward. Having suffered a great loss once, Yang Kai walked very slowly this time. As he walked, he carefully sensed his surroundings. When his foot landed on the ground, Kai Yang discovered that the strength in his body was like a flood breaking through a dam, gushing out of his body. His spirit was also the same. He suddenly felt exhausted. There was no reason for it, no sign of it. With another step, the little bit of strength that he had recovered was completely drained. Yang Kai almost fell. Clenching his teeth, Yang Kai's stubborn temper rose again, and he desperately moved his feet. This time, Yang Kai walked 4 steps before he had to stop. Although he did not want to admit defeat, his body could not keep up. After all, his strength was still too weak. The warm feeling in his body slowly spread out, and the strength he had recovered was not enough to make him faint. After many tests, all of Yang Kai's conjectures were confirmed to be correct. Although the incense burner wafting out of the incense burner made people feel tired, it did not cause any sequelae. The unyielding golden skeleton also needed to be stimulated. The more unyielding the heart, the stronger the warmth, and the greater the benefits it would bring to the body. This kind of cultivation method was simply unimaginable. To put it bluntly, it was like playing with one's life. If one was not careful, it would be beyond redemption. Fortunately, Yang Kai was very self-aware. Every time he broke through his limit, he would stop. After accumulating time after time, the results were very impressive. A person's potential was indeed limitless, but if one wanted to become strong, there was always a gradual process. After a whole day of torment, Yang Kai's progress was very obvious. He could already walk 6 steps, which was a big improvement compared to the first time. However, Yang Kai was still not satisfied. He was only walking while smelling the incense. If he could use his fists and feet while smelling the incense, then it would be true cultivation. Then, Yang Kai found a big problem. This kind of cultivation method consumed too many herbs. Putting a 3-leaved chaos spirit flower and a dead Jedi tree grass into the incense burner could only last for about an hour. After an hour, he had to put in the herbs again to produce the incense. Yang Kai calculated with his fingers, and his face suddenly became ugly. There were 24 hours in a day, and he cultivated for 14 to 14 hours a day. This would require at least 14 herbs. With his current reserves, he would use up all the dead Jedi tree grass and half of the 3-leaved chaos spirit flower in 2 days at most. What would he do if he ran out of herbs? He only had 38 contribution points now. How many days could he sustain himself? He originally thought that he was very rich, but now it seemed that he was still very poor. That night, Yang Kai fell asleep with deep worries. His mind was full of how to get herbs and contribution points. Even in his dreams, he found a large number of 3-leaved chaos spirit flowers and dead Jedi tree grass. That night, Yang Kai did not sleep well. That night, Sassafras did not sleep well either. Sassafras tossed and turned restlessly when he thought about how he had aggressively brought people to find trouble with Yang Kai in the morning, only to be defeated by him. If it wasn't for him, he might have already hooked up with Boss He's daughter. If it wasn't for him, he wouldn't have to suffer so much. Thinking about the He family's daughter, Sassafras was filled with resentment. He would never have the face to meet her again. As the saying goes, it's better to tear down 10 temples than to ruin a marriage. Yang Kai, you've gone too far by breaking up an affectionate couple. As the saying goes, it's never too late for a gentleman to take revenge, but it's always too late for a villain to take revenge. Sassafras was undoubtedly the latter. Although he could challenge Yang Kai again in a few days, Sassafras could not wait until then. He couldn't wait to beat Yang Kai up right now, only then would he be able to vent the hatred in his heart. Tossing and turning, Sumu couldn't sleep, so he got up in annoyance. Not only did he get up, but he also woke up his subordinates in the middle of the night. Chapter 27. Not long after, a group of sleepy Sky Tower disciples gathered in Sassafras's room. "Young Master Su, what's the matter?" one of them asked while rubbing his eyes. "Nothing, it's about this morning." Sassafras tried his best to calm down. "I called everyone here because I want everyone to give me some ideas on how to take revenge and resolve the hatred in my heart." Another person said, "Young Master Su, can't we just wait for another 4 days? After 4 days, I will challenge that Yang Kai and I promise to beat him into a pig's head." Sassafras was displeased. "Why would I call you all here if I could wait until then?" The group of people were sleeping soundly when they were woken up. Obviously, they didn't have the energy to respond to Sassafras's words. Instead, they kept yawning. Seeing their reaction, Sassafras became even more annoyed. He slammed the table and shouted, "All of you, think carefully. If you can't come up with a good idea today, none of you can go back to sleep." Everyone was shocked. Only now did they realize that Sassafras was really angry. Their sleepiness disappeared and they quickly thought of a plan. Not long after, a Sky Tower disciple named Li Yuntian rolled his eyes and thought of a good idea. He said to Sassafras, "Young Master Su, we can do this." As he spoke, he leaned over and whispered in Sassafras's ear, telling him how they could do this and this and this and this. Sassafras was overjoyed. He patted Li Yuntian's shoulder and said, "Not bad, not bad. This is a good idea. I'll leave this matter to you." "Young Master Su, don't worry." Li Yuntian also smiled. "Go back to sleep." Sassafras waved his hand. Everyone was relieved and quickly dispersed. Looking at the dark night outside, Sassafras laughed sinisterly. "Yang Kai, brother Yang, let's wait and see." After a while, Sassafras fell asleep contentedly. The next day, Yang Kai woke up and practiced the tempered body technique. Then he went out to sweep the floor. Yesterday, he had used the incense burner to cultivate. Although it was torturous and his back was still aching, the results were quite obvious. The most obvious result was that when he was practicing the fist and leg techniques of the body tempering chapter, he could clearly feel that the power of heaven and earth had decreased a little. This was easy to understand. The incense in the incense burner gave him a great deal of pressure. Practicing the tempered body technique also gave him a great deal of pressure. Once he adapted to one type, he would naturally be able to adapt to another type. An incense burner is a good thing. Yang Kai was excited and wanted to finish his work as soon as possible so that he could continue his cultivation. However, Yang Kai was only halfway through when a person suddenly blocked his path. Yang Kai raised his head and looked at the other person. He vaguely felt that this person was somewhat familiar. At this moment, this person was looking at him with a smile. Last night, Li Yuntian gave Sassafras an idea. Although he already had a plan in mind, he didn't dare to be careless. He was confident that he could deal with Yang Kai. Now, the most important thing was to find a way to trick the other party and make him fight with him. Fortunately, when he went to cause trouble with Sassafras yesterday, he hid behind the crowd. At that time, he didn't say much. This Yang Kai shouldn't have noticed him. This made things easier for him. Early in the morning, Li Yuntian waited while Yang Kai was sweeping the floor. Sure enough, he saw Yang Kai walking towards him. He immediately put on a smile and put on a harmless expression as he walked over. His current appearance should be friendly enough. Li Yuntian encouraged himself. Junior brother, is there something I can help you with? Yang Kai didn't stand on ceremony. After all the tempered body disciples were his junior brothers. Although his level was low, there were benefits to entering the sect early. When he saw a tempered body disciple, he could call them brother. Are you Yang Kai, brother Yang? Li Yuntian asked despite knowing the answer. Yang Kai nodded, yes. Li Yuntian was overjoyed. It really is you. Brother Yang, I've heard of your name for a long time. Seeing you today, you really do live up to your reputation. These words made Li Yuntian feel disgusted, but he had no choice but to show his sincerity. You're too serious, too serious. Kai Yang was very clear about his own situation. His name was very famous among the ordinary disciples. Li Yuntian acted as if he was very familiar with Kai Yang. Grabbing hold of Kai Yang's large hand, he vigorously shook it. Senior brother Kai, I heard that you taught that Zhao Hu a lesson yesterday. It really is satisfying. What? Do you have a grudge against him? Yang Kai sized him up. Li Yuntian's face turned cold. There is some enmity. This person has a human face but a beast's heart. He is despicable and shameless. He once humiliated me. Then why don't you take revenge? Yang Kai asked curiously. Even in my dreams, I want to take revenge, but... Li Yuntian sighed. Senior brother Yang, I'm afraid you also know that there is someone behind Zhao Hu. I don't care about a trivial Zhao Hu, but the person behind him is not someone I can provoke. That's true. Yang Kai nodded. Sassafras had someone backing them up. Ordinary disciples really didn't dare to provoke them. So, brother Yang teaching Zhao Hu a lesson yesterday really helped junior brother vent his anger. Li Yuntian shed tears of gratitude. Yang Kai smiled. It was just a spar between fellow disciples. It wasn't much. Li Yuntian continued. Brother Yang was able to beat Zhao Hu, so your strength can't be considered weak. Yang Kai waved his hand. Small tricks, not worth mentioning at all. Li Yuntian sneered in his heart, thinking that you actually spoke the truth. If you hadn't used tricks yesterday, how could Zhao Hu have lost? But he didn't dare show it on his face. If Yang Kai became suspicious, then it wouldn't be good. Brother is too modest. Come. Li Yuntian, like to spar with others. Brother Yang is also my benefactor. Since we've met today, I can't miss it. Li Yuntian beat around the bush for a long time before finally finding a chance to express his intentions. Yang Kai smiled bitterly. You want to spar with me? Li Yuntian nodded. Of course. I hope brother won't be stingy with your teachings. Let junior brother see how brother taught Zhao Hu a lesson yesterday. It'll also solve one of my worries. This reason was really a bit far-fetched. Yang Kai shook his head. Forget it, I don't usually spar with others. Li Yuntian was anxious. That won't do. Brother, you have to agree today even if you don't want to. Yang Kai looked at him with a smile. Li Yuntian's heart jumped. He was too anxious just now and his tone was a bit harsh. He quickly put on a smile and said, Junior brother is a martial arts fanatic. If he doesn't spar with others, he'll feel uncomfortable. I hope brother can help. That's not good. Yang Kai refused. What's not good? There's no reason for this. Li Yuntian saw that Yang Kai seemed to be moved. He quickly struck while the iron was hot. Spar with fellow disciples to test each other's skills. Why would there be a need for a reason? A friendly spar is beneficial to both you and me. Even if that's the case, it still won't do. Yang Kai repeatedly waved his hands. Don't be like that, brother. A spar won't make you pregnant. Li Yuntian was anxious in his heart, but he didn't dare show it. His mind turned, as if he had thought of something. He suddenly said, Brother, you're afraid that if you lose, your contribution points will be deducted? Chapter 28. Facing Li Yuntian's question, Yang Kai didn't answer. Li Yuntian thought he had guessed correctly and smiled. Brother, don't worry. Our strength should be about the same, so it's not certain who will win. If junior brother really wins, then brother's loss will be compensated by me. Are you serious? Yang Kai was a bit surprised. A gentleman's words cannot be taken back. Li Yun Tian solemnly promised. Originally, Li Yun Tian thought that he had fooled Yang Kai and was ready to show off his skills. He knew that Sassafras was definitely hiding nearby and watching. As long as he could ruthlessly teach Yang Kai a lesson and vent his anger on behalf of young Master Su, then he would gain a lot of face. But he didn't think that Kai Yang's eyebrows would wrinkle again. Li Yun Tian almost jumped up and cursed out loud. This senior brother of his was really annoying, just like a girl. How could Zhao Hu lose to this kind of person? Brother, do you have any other questions? Li Yun Tian felt that he was on the verge of exploding. Oh, although I also want to compare notes with you, I was already challenged yesterday. If you want to fight again, you will have to wait a few days. Li Yun Tian almost couldn't catch his breath and hurriedly said, Brother, you can challenge me. I haven't been challenged in the past few days. Don't we, High Heaven Pavilion disciples, have a chance to challenge others every day? So it's like this. Yang Kai suddenly understood and dryly laughed. Junior brother, please don't blame me. Brother has never challenged anyone these past few years, so I completely forgot about this rule. Li Yun Tian slowly exhaled, as if he wanted to spit out the anger and depression in his heart. After a long time, he said, Brother, can we compare notes now? Yang Kai had another question. Junior brother, if I lose, will you really compensate me with contribution points? Compensate? I will definitely compensate, and I will compensate you 10 times. Li Yun Tian gnashed his teeth. Yang Kai shook his head. I don't believe you, unless you give me the contribution points first. How can I give it to you? Li Yun Tian was extremely gloomy. Contribution points were all recorded in the accounts room and couldn't be carried around for transactions. This brother is too narrow-minded. Could it be that I would renege on this kind of thing? I have an idea. Yang Kai smiled slyly, beckoned to Li Yun Tian, and then whispered a few words into his ear. Li Yun Tian's expression changed several times. He couldn't help but admit that this Yang Kai's mind was really agile. He could even think of such a method. Junior brother, it's okay if you feel embarrassed. It's not that I don't trust you as a brother, it's just that. Yang Kai was playing hard to get. He wanted to say something but stopped. How could Li Yun Tian not know what he meant? Although he despised him in his heart, for the sake of his own plan, he could only endure. He opened his mouth and said, No matter. Brother, just wait here. I'll come after I get the things. Just wait, my speed is very fast. As he spoke, he hurriedly ran away. Looking at his disappearing figure, Yang Kai was filled with emotions. In this world, there were still people who sent themselves to him asking to be beaten up. Once they failed, they still gave him things. It was really strange. But this was also good. It could be considered as solving his urgent situation. Unfortunately, this method could only be used once. The next time, it couldn't be used again. For a moment, Yang Kai was a bit annoyed. If he had known earlier, he would have ruthlessly ripped him off like a lion. With Li Yun Tian's eagerness, he reckoned that even if his request was a bit more excessive, he would still agree. Sassafras led a group of people and hid not far away. When they saw Li Yun Tian and Yang Kai talking, they were secretly happy. They were prepared to watch a good show, but they didn't expect that Li Yun Tian would actually hurriedly run away. This scene made Sassafras confused. The plan they talked about last night didn't include this step. What the hell was Li Yun Tian doing? Sassafras was puzzled. He hurriedly sent people to intercept Li Yun Tian. He wanted to ask about the situation over there. After waiting for a quarter of an hour, the person he sent out came back and whispered to Sassafras, Young Master Su, Li Yun Tian said that Yang Kai is very petty. He said that he wants him to go to the contribution hall to exchange for 10 herbs to compensate for his losses before he is willing to spar with Li Yun Tian. Isn't that too petty? Sassafras was dumbfounded. Yang Kai is just a trial disciple. If he is defeated, he will only lose 1 contribution. Why would he have to compensate him with 10 herbs? That person replied, Li Yun Tian boasted, so he wants 10 times the compensation, so, well, serves him right. Sassafras had a strange expression, but forget it. As long as we can teach Yang Kai a lesson, 10 herbs is nothing. 10 herbs, it was estimated to be 10 contribution points. Sassafras really didn't put it in his eyes. When the group knew the situation, they could only bide their time and wait bitterly. Half an hour later, Yang Kai was almost done sweeping the floor. Only then did Li Yuntian run back with a face full of sweat. It wasn't that this place was too far from the contribution hall, but that the contribution hall's old man Meng was still sleeping. He only woke up after Li Yuntian knocked on the door for a long time. Old man Meng was disturbed from his wet dream, so his temper was naturally not good. Li Yuntian didn't have time to teach Yang Kai a lesson before he was taken advantage of by old man Meng. He spent 20 contribution points to exchange for 10 ordinary low-quality herbs. Li Yuntian was furious. He secretly swore that he would definitely get back at Yang Kai later. When he arrived at the agreed place, Yang Kai was indeed still there. He was standing there with a broom in his hand. Li Yuntian took 3 steps in 2, panting as he ran to the front. He handed over the 10 stalks of herbs in his hand and unhappily said, "Here, senior brother, take a look." No need. Yang Kai appeared to be very generous. He took the broom and the herbs without even looking at them. "Brother, can we compare notes now?" Li Yuntian asked. Junior brother didn't need to go through so much trouble. Junior brother only needs to say one word, brother will believe it. Yang Kai cheerfully laughed. Li Yuntian was so angry that 1 Buddha almost left his body, 2 Buddhas ascended to heaven, 3 Buddhas nirvana, 4 Buddhas in the same hall. The one who said he wanted the herbs first was you, and the one who said he would believe it was you. All the good and bad words were said by you alone. This father had been busy all morning and hadn't eaten anything. Was it all for nothing? But forget it. Li Yuntian took a few breaths and calmed his mind. Now that half of his goal had been achieved, as long as this Yang Kai dared to challenge him, he would not show mercy. "Then, junior brother, shall we begin?" Yang Kai asked for Li Yuntian's opinion. Li Yuntian's spirit was greatly aroused. He cupped his hands and said, "Please advise me, brother." "I don't dare." Yang Kai smiled. Neither of them reported their current realms to the other. Li Yuntian was afraid of scaring Yang Kai away, and Yang Kai was happy to do so. With a tacit understanding, the challenge began. With Zhao Hu's example yesterday and today's grievance and hatred, how could Li Yuntian be courteous? He was prepared to use the power of thunder to defeat this brother. In the time it takes for sparks to fly, Kai Yang and Li Yuntian had already begun to exchange blows. Li Yuntian's aura was as deep as the abyss. Li Yuntian suppressed his anger and didn't hold back at all. He used his full strength, his palms flying up and down, each palm faster and heavier than the last. Yang Kai was not in a hurry. His thin body's muscles tightened. The results of his training these past few days were displayed at this moment. He only used Sky Tower Pavilion's basic skills, long fist and whip kick to face his opponent. As the palms and fists intersected, Li Yuntian was shocked. A strong force came from the other side, shaking his footing, causing him to stagger back a few steps. Not only that, his palms felt as if they had been imprinted on a rock, causing his bones to feel numb from the rebound. Chapter 29. After suffering a loss, Li Yuntian didn't dare to be negligent. Relying on his nimble movements, he circled around Yang Kai and leaped up and down, finding the right time to strike. Very quickly, he landed a dozen or so palm strikes on Yang Kai's body. "Who told you to be so petty? Who told me to go to the contribution hall so early in the morning to be bullied?" Li Yuntian was secretly pleased. Every time he struck Yang Kai's body, there would be a ping-ping sound. Sassafras, who wasn't far away, was dazzled, as if he was the one who struck Yang Kai. The two combatants were both tempered body stage martial artists. Their cultivation had just started, so they didn't have many tricks up their sleeves. Adding on the fact that Kai Yang wanted to test out his current body, Li Yuntian was able to gain quite a bit of advantage. After fighting for the time it takes to drink a cup of tea, Yang Kai already had a plan in mind. His current body was still okay, much better than it was a few days ago. Since his goal was achieved, Yang Kai didn't want to continue fighting with this junior brother. Just as Li Yuntian was about to follow up with another attack, he suddenly saw that brother Yang, who had been beaten back by him, suddenly had an excited expression. It was like a pervert seeing a naked girl. That excited expression gave Li Yuntian goosebumps all over his body. But upon closer inspection, this kind of excitement was different. This was a kind of cruel and bloodthirsty excitement. Li Yuntian cried out in his heart. Just as he was about to increase the distance between them, Yang Kai took a step forward, blocking his path like a mountain. Li Yuntian jumped high, wanting to break away from Yang Kai's pursuit. Yang Kai flew up and heavily swept Li Yuntian's waist. With a miserable cry, Li Yuntian flew out like a rag sack, falling several feet away. Without waiting for him to get up, Yang Kai rushed up and sat on Li Yuntian's body. His fists rained down like raindrops. Miserable cries rang out. This round of sparring finally ended with Li Yuntian begging for mercy. Originally, Li Yuntian wanted to retaliate when Yang Kai beat him to the ground, but Yang Kai didn't care about his attacks at all. He was like a madman who was willing to exchange injuries for injuries. After a while, Li Yuntian couldn't hold on any longer. He discovered a strange thing. After being beaten, his and Yang Kai's reactions were completely different. When he beat him, the more he beat him, the more he beat, the more he beat him. In this world, who would be excited to be beaten? In the end, Li Yuntian could even see that Kai Yang's skin and flesh had turned red. Under his skin, blood was flowing and blue veins were bulging. His appearance was ferocious, like a mad demon. Li Yuntian really thought that Kai Yang had gone crazy. However, after the sparring session ended, this senior brother actually returned to normal. His face was amiable, and he even affectionately pulled her up from the ground. He smiled and said, "Thank you for letting me win." Only then did he take the broom and leave. When he was fighting and when he wasn't fighting, he was like a completely different person. Li Yuntian's entire body was in pain. After taking so many of Yang Kai's fists, how could he not be injured? This time, it was like trying to steal a chicken only to end up losing the rice used to lure it. Li Yuntian wanted to cry but had no tears. The other party had rejected him time and time again, refusing to spar with him. Yet, he had begged the other party to spar with him with the medicinal herbs that he had exchanged for with 20 contribution points. In the end, he had been beaten up. Not only had the medicinal herbs been taken away by the other party, he had even lost the battle and had his contribution points deducted. This time, it was a huge loss. Wasn't he just asking for trouble? Li Yuntian was filled with regret. Sassafras and the others were also stunned. When Li Yuntian and Yang Kai started to spar, they couldn't help but cheer, celebrating the success of Li Yuntian's plan. They were about to see the scene of Yang Kai being beaten up. Su Mu had even thought that after Kai Yang was beaten into a pig's head, he would go and taunt him a few times to release the pent-up anger in his heart. But when the battle started, everyone was shocked, because Kai Yang and Li Yuntian actually fought to a draw. Sassafras felt a little dizzy. He asked suspiciously, "What's Li Yuntian's level again?" Tempered body stage 7. His body has already produced some yuan qi. But it hasn't been long, so he hasn't started practicing martial arts yet. Someone beside him answered. "What about Yang Kai?" Sassafras asked again. "Probably tempered body stage 4? His tone was a little uncertain. The group looked at each other in amazement. The two were 3 levels apart, but they were evenly matched. This was simply too sensational. No wonder Zhao Hu was defeated in 3 moves. With Yang Kai's current strength, even if Zhao Hu used all his strength, he still wouldn't be a match for him. But how could this rumored punching bag be so strong? If he really had this kind of strength, then why did he lose every battle before? Yang Kai had been in the sect for 3 years. Basically, he was challenged in the first year after he entered the sect. From then until yesterday, he had never won. In between, there were more than 2 years. Sassafras and the others were still shocked. Originally, they thought that Yang Kai was able to fight against Li Yuntian. It was already a miracle that he didn't lose. But when Yang Kai really defeated Li Yuntian, the group suddenly became silent. They couldn't believe their eyes. A tempered body stage 4 defeated a tempered body stage 7. This kind of thing had never happened in Sky Tower's hundreds of years of history. Could it be that this stinky salted fish had a chance to turn things around? While in a daze, Sassafras suddenly felt someone pat his shoulder. Turning his head, he saw Xianxia holding a broom and looking at him with a smile. His face was affectionate. "Junior brother, next time something good like this happens, remember to tell me." "You already knew?" Sassafras's mouth twitched. Xianxia chuckled. "That junior brotherly hid behind the crowd yesterday. But as a brother, he doesn't have any other good points. Only his memory is good." "So treacherous." Sassafras gnashed his teeth. Only now did he realize that his group had been tricked by Xianxia. "Same to you." Xianxia smiled. "Oh right, I can still challenge you tomorrow. Isn't there a chance every day? Have fun everyone, I'll find you tomorrow." The group's faces immediately turned cold. Hearing Xianxia's words, it seemed that he had taken a liking to this kind of thing. Looking at Li Yuntian's current appearance and comparing their own strength to Li Yuntian's, everyone shivered and asked in horror, "Young Master Su, what should we do?" Sassafras didn't know what to do. After all, challenging was a tradition of the sect. Which disciple hadn't been challenged before? Although he had a backer, he didn't dare to recklessly break the sect's rules. "Don't worry, he's probably just scaring you. If he really dares to challenge you, I'll make sure he gets the consequences." Hearing Sassafras's words, everyone's hearts calmed down a little. Xianxia had only thought of this on the spur of the moment. Sky Tower disciples had a chance to challenge each day. He hadn't used this privilege before, so he had forgotten about it. Today, after being reminded by Li Yuntian, Xianxia finally remembered this matter. Challenging once a day and defeating an ordinary disciple only gave him 2 contribution points, but even a mosquito's meat was meat. After a month of accumulation, it wasn't a small amount. What's more, the path of cultivation couldn't be closed off. Every day, he would compare notes with these brothers and little brothers. It was indeed beneficial and not harmful. In any case, it didn't take much time. He could just treat it as relaxing and earning contribution points, so why not? All in all, he had earned a lot from today's challenge. Not only did he get 2 contribution points, he also got 10 stalks of dead Jedi tree grass. He had earned a lot. If someone could give him 10 stalks of dead Jedi tree grass every day, that would be great. Xianxia's heart was daydreaming. Returning to the wooden house, Xianxia took out the incense burner and lit it. Then he continued his arduous cultivation. Chapter 30. The next day, a group of High Heaven Pavilion disciples gathered together to practice. Everyone was talking and laughing. Although it was hard work, they were also enjoying themselves. Suddenly, one of them looked in a certain direction in horror and said in a trembling voice, "Su. Young Master Su, what's wrong?" Sassafras was puzzled. He really came. Sassafras was a bit impatient. He looked in the direction the person was pointing and saw Xianxia walking over with a smile on his face and a broom in his hand. The group of people's faces changed greatly. "Good morning, junior brother. Waking up so early to practice, you're really diligent." Xianxia greeted the crowd and deliberately looked at Zhao Hu and Li Yuntian. The two with bruises on their faces subconsciously shrank back. Thinking of how heavy Xianxia's fists were, their skin tightened. "What are you doing here?" Sassafras's face was a bit unsightly. Although he knew Xianxia's purpose, he still asked. After all, he had boasted in front of everyone yesterday. "A challenge." Xianxia smiled brilliantly. He swept his eyes over the crowd and asked kindly, "Which junior brother hasn't been challenged in the past few days? Why don't you spar with this brother?" High Heaven Pavilion's rules stated that when sparring, one could not avoid or be afraid of a fight. Violators would be expelled from the sect. With this rule in place, no matter how afraid Sassafras was of Xianxia, as long as the other party asked for a challenge and they hadn't been challenged in the past 5 days, even if they knew that the result would be a beating, they still had to accept. On this day, Sassafras's subordinate Zhang San was beaten. Xianxia left satisfied, while Sassafras cursed at his back. Another day, Yang Kai came again. Sassafras's subordinate Li Si was beaten again. Yang Kai left satisfied, while Sassafras continued to threaten, but to no avail. On the third day, Yang Kai came again. Sassafras's subordinate Wang Wu was unlucky and was beaten black and blue. Yang Kai once again left satisfied, while Sassafras cursed weakly. When Yang Kai came again, Sassafras learned his lesson. He didn't curse or threaten him because he knew that it was useless. This brother wasn't afraid of his threats. Su Mu only glared at him fiercely, with a kind of unforgettable hatred. After being tormented again and again like this, Su Mu's subordinates suddenly became unhappy. Yang Kai was too much of a bully. There were so many ordinary disciples in High Heaven Pavilion, but he didn't look for anyone but them. It was obvious that he was taking revenge. Moreover, the number of people in this group wasn't small. Yang Kai challenged one person a day, so he didn't leave empty-handed every day. Yang Kai's actions set off an uproar in the entire High Heaven Pavilion. This trial disciple's turnaround made everyone's attention focused on him. Since that day when he beat Zhao Hu, it was as if his whole person changed. He was no longer the soft persimmon that anyone could pinch. Every day he would find someone to fight, and every time he won, it was rumored that Sassafras was tormented by him to the point that he didn't even have the slightest bit of temper. Who was Sassafras? He was a person with a big backer. Even he couldn't do anything to Yang Kai, so how could the other ordinary disciples dare to provoke Yang Kai? This led to the fact that no one dared to challenge Yang Kai anymore. Everyone knew that this little brother who had been demoted to a trial disciple after only 3 years was not someone to be trifled with. When this news spread, everyone was guessing what level Yang Kai's strength had reached. Some guessed that he was at tempered body 4th stage, some guessed that he was at tempered body 5th stage, and some even guessed that he was at tempered body 8th stage. After all, he had even defeated Li Yuntian, who was at tempered body 7th stage. But no matter who it was, no one knew Yang Kai's true strength. Only Xianxia knew. These past few days, every time Yang Kai fought, she would peak. With her strength that was much higher than Yang Kai's, she could naturally see through Yang Kai's realm. But because she could see through it, Xianxia was secretly shocked. When this junior brother had defeated Li Yuntian, he was only at body tempering stage level 5. However, in less than 4 days, he had already reached body tempering stage level 6. How did he cultivate so fast? Even if it was her, with her special physique, and the fact that she had taken many pills when she was in the tempered body realm, her progress wouldn't be this fast. In order to dispel her doubts, Xianxia even secretly went to Yang Kai's hut to ambush him and investigate how he cultivated. However, no matter how he investigated, he couldn't find anything. He was just using his fists and legs, and there was nothing unusual. However, when he used his fists and legs, he would often use a few punches and legs to exhaust himself and sweat profusely. Xianxia couldn't understand why Sky Tower Pavilion's foundation techniques were so strenuous for him. It wasn't like they were mysterious martial arts. After investigating for a few days, Xianxia still couldn't find any clues. Although she faintly felt that Yang Kai still had some secrets, she was too embarrassed to continue investigating. After all, peeping at others wasn't something to be proud of, especially when peeping at a youth who was often naked. Every time Xianxia looked, her face would turn red and her heart would beat faster. She would feel ashamed and resentful. Every time this person started cultivating, he would take off his upper body, as if his ribs were so good to look at. But he seems to be stronger than before, and has also put on some weight. Recalling the first time she saw Yang Kai, Xianxia secretly compared them in her heart. After comparing, her face flushed red. Yang Kai naturally didn't know that he was being peeped on these past few days. Every day after he finished sweeping the floor of Sky Tower, he would go find Sassafras and the others to challenge them. Then he would return to the hut to cultivate. Although the days were boring, they were very fulfilling. The incense burner's effect was very strong. Combined with the half an hour of tempered body scripture every day, he had already stepped into tempered body 6th layer yesterday. The chi in his body was already showing signs of solidification. He was only one step away from tempered body 7th layer. At this level, his body would produce a little yuan qi. Although it wasn't much, it was still yuan qi. As long as he had yuan qi in his body, he would be able to start cultivating martial skills. At that time, his attacks would no longer be as boring as punches and kicks. From tempered body 7th layer to 9th layer, the yuan qi in the body would be produced, multiplied, and strengthened. It was also the time when the yuan qi would flow through the meridians of the body and be fully integrated. Only by letting the yuan qi form a large cycle in the body and opening the heaven and earth bridge could one break through the tempered body realm and reach another level. Cultivating like he was risking his life, Kai Yang could feel his growth every day. It was a very real feeling. Today, Yang Kai could already use his fists and kicks under the incense burner's fragrance. However, the duration was not very long. Cultivating the tempered body scripture in the morning was also much easier than before. He was making progress every day. If he could keep up with the conditions, Yang Kai believed that he would be able to grow very quickly. However, Yang Kai discovered an awkward situation. He had used up all of his dead Jedi tree grass. Although he still had some left over from the 3-leaved Chaos Spirit Flower, he didn't have much left. These days, Yang Kai had been very frugal. However, he couldn't bear the fact that the consumption of herbs was too fast. After using them for a while, he ran out. Without any other choice, Yang Kai could only go to the contribution hall and use all of his remaining contribution points to exchange for some herbs. Chapter 31. This time, Old Man Meng was kind enough to give Yang Kai a few extra stalks. However, he still held on to Yang Kai and asked him why his strength had improved so quickly. It seemed that the news of Yang Kai harming Sassafras and the others had also reached Treasurer Meng. Yang Kai had a good impression of Treasurer Meng. Although the old man was unreliable, lecherous, and thick-skinned, he was very much to Yang Kai's liking. This matter was not easy to explain. Yang Kai could only say that he had accidentally eaten a fruit when he entered Black Wind Mountain. After that, he suddenly became enlightened and knew how to cultivate. Treasurer Meng pondered for a long time. Considering the time when Yang Kai had entered Black Wind Mountain and his performance, he could only believe his explanation. In the end, he concluded that it was a fortuitous encounter. Leaving the contribution hall, Yang Kai was deeply worried. All of his contribution points had been exchanged for medicinal herbs. He estimated that they would only last for 3 to 4 days. After that, where would he go to get more medicinal herbs? Although he could obtain 2 contribution points by challenging others every day, he could only receive them on the 8th day of every month. There were still about 20 days left. How could he wait until then? Unable to come up with a good idea, Yang Kai was helpless and could only cultivate. A few days passed quickly. Yang Kai's body tempering realm level 6 slowly stabilized and showed signs of advancing to level 7. He diligently cultivated every day, forgetting to eat and sleep. His hard work finally paid off. Compared to Yang Kai's good days, Sassafras and the others were suffering. These days, Yang Kai would come to find trouble with them every day, causing them to be extremely annoyed. They couldn't beat him in a fight and couldn't hide from him. They were simply sullen to death. Sassafras was confident that he could beat Yang Kai, but the gap between the two was too large. He simply couldn't challenge him. Sassafras had always thought that Yang Kai was only at level 4 or 5 of body tempering realm. Sassafras knew that this could not go on. If this continued, the hearts of the people would be broken. After thinking about it for a while, Sassafras steeled his heart and gathered all the High Heaven Pavilion disciples who had been ravaged by Yang Kai. With a gloomy expression, he said, "Tonight, we will attack Yang Kai and wash away our shame." Since he couldn't follow the rules, then he wouldn't follow the rules. Everyone was shocked. A sneak attack? Sassafras nodded. That's not a good idea. Li Yun Tian hesitated. Although that guy Yang Kai isn't very kind, he did challenge us fair and square. If we sneak up on him at night and news of this spread, I'm afraid we'll be punished. Li Yun Tian's words received the approval of the majority of the people present. Sassafras said angrily, "But he's too much. He doesn't put us in his eyes at all. He comes every day. If we don't teach him a lesson, who knows how long he'll continue to be so arrogant. I don't care, I'm going to make trouble for him tonight. Those of you who want to come can come with me. Those of you who don't want to come, I won't force you. If something really happens, I, Sassafras, will bear all the responsibility. I won't drag you down. Sassafras's words were sincere. Even if some people felt that this was not a good idea, they didn't have the heart to refute. After all, Sassafras had already put all the responsibility on his shoulders. He had already done his best. Li Yuntian thought for a moment and said, "This is good. If we succeed, we'll let that bastard know that we're not to be trifled with. Young Master Su, this junior brother will play along with you and play with you." "We'll go too," everyone said in unison. Sassafras smiled and nodded. "That's more like it." At night, everyone was in high spirits. They gathered in Sassafras's room in the middle of the night. "Are you ready?" Sassafras asked in a deep voice. Everyone nodded. "Good, this time we'll definitely make that bastard unforgettable." Sassafras stretched out his hand and covered his face with a piece of black cloth, revealing only his eyes. The others followed suit and became excited. "Let's go." Sassafras raised his arm and gave the order. More than 10 black shadows rushed out and quickly blended into the night. Sky Tower also had disciples patrolling at night, but Sassafras and his group were originally from Sky Tower. They knew the patrolling disciples' movements like the back of their hand and easily avoided them. Why else would they say that it's hard to guard against a thief in your own home? Sassafras's current performance was the best example. Not long after, everyone gathered in front of Yang Kai's small wooden house. They were more than 10 feet away from each other. Everyone suppressed their breathing and looked at the dark wooden house with righteous indignation. There's no light in the house, Yang Kai should be asleep. Sassafras's heart was set. He turned to Li Yuntian and said, "Yang Kai's strength is not weak. Later, you and I will go and capture him together. After that, the rest of us will beat him up." "Okay." Li Yuntian nodded. "Don't kill him. You can beat him however you want." Sassafras reminded again. Everyone quietly nodded. "Go." Sassafras waved his hand and immediately rushed towards the small wooden house. More than a dozen figures dashed through the darkness of the night. All of them were cultivators, so their movements were silent. Everyone's hearts were filled with resentment as they imagined the scene of them beating Yang Kai up and washing away their previous humiliation, causing them to feel extremely excited. These days, they had been tormented by Yang Kai. When they were only a few feet away from the small wooden house, Sassafras's eyes became colder and colder. The corner of his mouth couldn't help but curl up. They were even closer now. The wooden door of the small house was right in front of them. Sassafras had already reached out a hand to touch the door. Suddenly, a strange fragrance entered the tip of Sassafras' nose. He gently sniffed and felt that this fragrance was a little strange. It was unpleasant, but not unpleasant. It was a fragrance that he had never smelled before. Although he was puzzled, Sassafras didn't pay much attention to it. He just kept charging forward. After taking a step forward, Sassafras's body went soft and he almost fell to the ground. This unforeseen event made him break out in cold sweat. At that moment, he felt as if half of his strength had been sucked away. There was a buzzing sound in his head, and he was in a daze. He actually felt tired. After another step, Sassafras fell flat on his face. His nose touched the ground first, and 2 streams of warm air flowed out from his nostrils. His mouth was full of the smell of blood. Pa pa pa. A series of sounds rang out. The High Heaven Pavilion disciples who had gathered to charge towards the small wooden house all fell to the ground one by one like Sassafras. Each and every one of them was weak. Their noses were bruised and their faces were swollen. Wails rang out one after another. It was very lively. "What's going on?" Sassafras forced himself to stay awake and turned to ask Li Yuntian. Li Yuntian struggled to get up, but he didn't have the strength. He lay on the ground, gasping for breath. His face was very ugly. He hesitantly said, "Young Master Su, I'm afraid we've been poisoned." "Poisoned?" Sassafras was shocked. "And it's highly toxic." Li Yuntian shakily stretched out a hand. Young Master Su, I'm afraid I'm not going to make it. You have to avenge me. After saying his last words, Li Yuntian's head fell to the side, and he didn't move. Sassafras was shocked. He anxiously called out Li Yuntian's name, but no matter what he did, he couldn't wake him up. He turned his head and looked around. None of the brothers he had brought had escaped this disaster. They were all dead. An inexplicable panic and grief surged in his heart. Sassafras's mind actually calmed down at this moment. This was High Heaven Pavilion. How could they be poisoned? Moreover, the effect of this poison was so overbearing. In just 3 breaths of time, one life after another was lost. Chapter 32. Who poisoned him? Why did they poison him? Just as he was trying to figure it out, he heard a surprised voice. Ha! It was Yang Kai's voice. Sassafras hated Yang Kai to the bone, so how could he not recognize it? It was him, so this poison was Yang Kai's doing, bastard. We just wanted to teach you a lesson, but you actually used such a vicious method. Isn't this too cruel? Sassafras wanted to curse Yang Kai, but his consciousness was quickly fading away. Motherf asterisk cur, could it be that this young master is going to die just like that? This young master had so much ambition, but he didn't even get a chance to show it off before dying here. The heavens are jealous of the talented. The heavens are jealous of the talented. Yang Kai walked briskly to the front of the group, squatted down and removed their masks. Looking closely, he found that they were all familiar faces. After thinking about it, Yang Kai understood what they wanted to do. They were probably tormented by him for the past few days, so they wanted to take revenge on him tonight. But they were really unlucky. Yang Kai weighed the incense burner in his hand, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. This was really an accident. Usually, before going to bed, Yang Kai would put the incense burner into the black book. But tonight, he had cultivated for too long and was a little tired, so he accidentally fell asleep and forgot to put away the incense burner. The herbs he put in were not used up, and Sassafras and the others happened to smell it. The incense inside the incense burner was extremely potent. The first time Kai Yang had smelled it, he had only taken 3 steps before collapsing to the ground. Even Kai Yang, with his unyielding golden skeleton, was unable to do so. What about Su Mu and the others? They didn't have the unyielding golden skeleton, so they would need to rest for a few days to recover. Although he had to take some responsibility for his own negligence, Sassafras and the others' carelessness was the root cause. If they had held their breath when they smelled the incense, perhaps they wouldn't have ended up in such a miserable state. AI, why do you have to do this? Yang Kai sighed and put the incense burner back into the wordless black book. He stared at the people on the ground with a troubled expression. After thinking about it for a moment, Yang Kai still decided to drag them all out, then casually found a place to throw them, no longer caring about them. After returning to the cabin, Yang Kai continued to rest. Today's matter had alerted Yang Kai. He had to quickly break through to the body-tempering realm. The incense burner could only be used outside, but once he broke through the body-tempering realm and reached the initial element realm, it wouldn't be so troublesome. At that time, even if the incense burner was placed inside the wordless black book, it would still work, as long as the Yuan Qi in his body could communicate with the wordless black book. Over the next few days, Yang Kai had been diligent in his cultivation. He used the 2 herbs sparingly, but they were still decreasing day by day. On the morning of the 3rd day, Yang Kai finished practicing the tempered body technique. Along with the inhalation of the Eastern Purple Qi, the feeling of Qi in his meridians suddenly became extremely excited. It was as if the Qi had turned into a small insect, moving back and forth in his meridians. With a dignified expression, Yang Kai hurriedly used his heart to feel. The feeling of Qi stirred up his flesh and blood, making his whole body feel limp and numb. He didn't know how long this situation lasted. Suddenly, Yang Kai felt his whole body become light and his abdomen warm up. At the same time, the feeling of Qi disappeared without a trace. As he transmitted his thoughts, the feeling of warmth in his abdomen seemed to come alive and was jumping around excitedly. Yuan Qi. He had finally taken this step. Body tempering realm 7th stage, Yuan Qi was produced in his body. This was the most obvious sign. A person's first Yuan Qi was always produced in the Dantian. At this time, the Yuan Qi was very insignificant and couldn't support a cultivator in battle. This was because once it was used, this strand of Yuan Qi would disappear, and it would take a lot of effort to condense it again. But because the body had produced Yuan Qi, the cultivator could start practicing martial arts at this time. It couldn't be compared to High Heaven Pavilion's basic martial arts. Martial arts were moves that could be used with the help of Yuan Qi. It was the foundation of a cultivator's battle. The same punch had a completely different effect between a body tempering realm level 6 and body tempering realm level 7. If a body tempering realm level SIXS punch could produce a force of 200 Jin, then a body tempering realm level 7's punch with Yuan Qi could produce a force of 250 Jin or even 1000 Jin. Of course, when a cultivator was in the body tempering realm, they would not use their martial arts easily because it was not easy to recover their Yuan Qi. Only after reaching the initial element state could one freely use Yuan Qi in battle. At that time, even if the Yuan Qi was depleted, one could quickly recover it. The root of everything was whether or not he could recover quickly. Therefore, starting from body tempering stage 7, the cultivator needed to use this strand of Yuan Qi as the foundation to multiply and strengthen. One of the most common methods was to practice martial arts. Every type of martial arts required a few or even a dozen or more Yuan Qi meridians to circulate according to a certain order and route to form different martial arts. To strengthen the Yuan Qi in the process of practicing martial arts, to open up the inner body and reach the initial element state, this was something that every cultivator would do. Yang Kai was no exception. After knowing that he had reached body tempering realm level 7, Yang Kai quickly calmed his excited heart and hurried back to his room to summon the wordless black book. He directly flipped to the 4th page and used his heart to feel it. In the past few days, every time he broke through, he would try to break the seal on the 4th page, but he never succeeded. Yang Kai estimated that only when he reached body tempering realm level 7, the dividing line of the body tempering realm, would there be a change on the 4th page. His guess was not wrong. After a few moments of feeling, a bright golden light appeared on the 4th page. Like the previous few times, this golden light broke free from the binding of the page and directly entered Yang Kai's mind. Suddenly, there was some information in his mind. True Yang tactics. This was what the black book gave him after he broke through this time. After carefully examining it, Yang Kai's expression became strange. This true Yang tactics was slightly different from normal martial arts. Normal martial arts had a fixed set of moves. Even if it could be changed, it would not deviate from the basic principle. There was a basic outline. If it went beyond this, then it would not be a martial art. However, this was not the case with the true Yang tactics. It did not have a fixed set of moves. It could be said that it could be changed at will. In other words, it did not have a set of moves. This was the first difference. The true Yang tactics was easy to cultivate, but there were requirements for cultivating it. It could only be cultivated in an environment where there was Yang Qi. However, when the true Yang Yuan Qi cultivated through this tactic reached a certain level in the body, it would condense into liquid and accumulate in the Dantian. This was not possible with any martial arts or tactics because every cultivator's body would reach a point of saturation. Once cultivated to the peak, there would be no way to increase the Yuan Qi in the body unless they broke through their own limits. Chapter 33. But the true Yang secret art was different. When the true Yang Yuan Qi reached its limit, it would turn into liquid and enter the Dantian, which was equivalent to emptying the meridians, allowing one to continue cultivating. In other words, cultivating this secret art would not reach its limit. As long as there was Yang Qi, one could continue to cultivate without limit. This was the second difference, and this difference highlighted the extraordinariness of the true Yang secret art. Once the Yang liquid was formed, one could use it to attack in battle. Yang Kai pondered for a moment and decided to cultivate this true Yang secret art. First of all, he had no choice. Without contribution points, he could not obtain any martial skills from the sect. Secondly, he believed that anything from the wordless black book would not be bad. The martial skills from the sect would not necessarily be better than the true Yang secret art. As for the cultivation environment, it was not something to worry about. The sun was also Yang. As long as there was sun, one could cultivate this true Yang secret art. Of course, the efficiency was very low. After all, with the sun shining on the earth, how much could one person absorb? Having made his decision, Yang Kai immediately walked out of the room and sat cross-legged on the ground. He closed his eyes and thought about the true Yang secret art's circulation route. He tried to control the only strand of Yuan Qi in his dantian and circulated it according to the true Yang secret art's circulation route. Everything was difficult at the beginning. This sentence was not false at all. Although Yang Kai could communicate with the strand of Yuan Qi, it was extremely difficult for him to circulate it. After cultivating under the scorching sun for an entire day, the Yuan Qi in his body only increased a little, and the Yuan Qi circulation speed was also as slow as a turtle's crawl. But after all, it was his first time cultivating. With such results, Yang Kai was very satisfied. This was a process that was accumulated over a long period of time. It was not something that could be completed overnight. Patience was not something Yang Kai lacked. After 3 days of effort, Yang Kai finally guided the Yuan Qi in his dantian to his chest. With a thought, he controlled this strand of Yuan Qi, which was not very strong, to circulate through several important meridians near his chest. He had to follow the information he obtained from the wordless black book and form the origin of Yang seal in his body. This was the first step to cultivating the true Yang secret art. This origin of Yang seal had no other use than to sense the presence of Yang Qi. After all, Yang Kai was still young and his strength was too weak. He had not formed his own divine sense, so he could not investigate where there was a large area of Yang Qi. But with this origin of Yang seal, it was different. This thing was very sensitive to Yang Qi. As long as there was Yang Qi within a certain range, the origin of Yang seal would react. The strand of Yuan Qi in his body was shuttling back and forth in his chest. Kai Yang's expression was meticulous, not daring to show the slightest bit of carelessness. Condensing the origin of Yang seal was a very complicated and tedious process. If there was any mistake in the middle, all of his previous efforts would be wasted. 2 hours passed. 4 hours passed. Yang Kai, who was sitting under the sun, was completely soaked. The long period of sweating had even caused his body to show signs of dehydration. His lips were white, but Yang Kai's expression was firm. He continued to guide the strand of Yuan Qi to circulate through his meridians without any signs of irritation or discouragement. After an unknown amount of time, Yang Kai suddenly felt a strange feeling coming from his chest, followed by a sharp pain, as if it had been branded by a hot iron. Yang Kai opened his eyes and gritted his teeth. This pain came and went quickly. In the blink of an eye, his chest had returned to normal. He even felt a little cool, but the sharp pain was still reverberating in his mind, making him feel apprehensive. Faintly, Yang Kai felt that there was something extra in his chest, but when he looked down, he could not see anything. Was the origin of Yang seal formed? Yang Kai frowned and pondered for a moment. The origin of Yang seal should have been successfully formed. It should have been in the center of his chest, but he could not see it. But since the origin of Yang seal had been formed, it should have reacted to Yang Qi. Why was he unable to detect it? Could it be that there was no rich Yang Qi nearby? Holding the idea of giving it a try, Yang Kai stood up and walked into the interior of High Heaven Pavilion. As he walked, he paid attention to the movement in his chest. After walking for a short while, a sudden warmth came from his chest. Yang Kai was shocked. Sure enough, the origin of Yang seal had indeed formed in his body. There was no reaction because there was not much Yang Qi nearby. Now that there was a reaction, it meant that there was Yang Qi nearby. Yang Kai's face was filled with excitement. Cultivating the true Yang secret art required a very harsh environment. The denser one's Yang Qi was, the faster one could cultivate. Like Yang Kai, who only relied on the power of the sun to cultivate, was undoubtedly the slowest. Following the direction of the Yang Qi that the origin of Yang seal had sensed, Yang Kai ran all the way. In just a moment, Yang Kai rushed into a room. Just as he entered, a familiar voice entered his ears. "Hey, little Yang Kai, why are you here at this time?" Looking up, Yang Kai was surprised to find Treasurer Meng looking at him strangely from behind the counter. So this was the contribution hall. Looking at Treasurer Meng and then looking at the back of the contribution hall, Yang Kai couldn't help but roll his eyes. The source of the yang qi was very clear. It was definitely something with a yang attribute in the contribution hall's warehouse. But that was something from the contribution hall. If he wanted it, he could only use his contribution points to exchange for it. Yang Kai currently had 0 contribution points in the treasury, all of which had been exchanged for the 3-leaved Chaos Spirit Flower and the Dead Jedi Tree Grass. Understanding this point, Yang Kai was suddenly very disappointed. He didn't even bother to answer Treasurer Meng's question and dejectedly turned around to leave. "What do you mean?" Old Man Meng was suddenly depressed. Aimlessly walking around High Heaven Pavilion, the origin of Yang seal on his chest would occasionally play a role, guiding Yang Kai in the direction of the Yang Qi source. But the source of the Yang Qi was either in the residence of the sect's leader or in someone else's pocket. Yang Kai even had the thought of covering his face and robbing them. But looking at his own small body and the strength of others, Yang Kai had no choice but to dispel this thought. Although he couldn't obtain these Yang attribute treasures, Yang Kai wasn't completely empty-handed. According to his many experiments and feelings, the origin of Yang seal in his body could clearly sense the existence of Yang Qi within a 50 zhang radius. Beyond 50 zhang, the origin of Yang seal couldn't sense anything. He reckoned that this was related to his own strength. In the future, when his strength increased, the origin of Yang seal's sensing range would increase. Hurriedly walking through the High Heaven Pavilion for 2 to 3 hours, except for a few restricted areas, he had almost explored the entire High Heaven Pavilion, but Kai Yang still had not found anything. Thinking about it, since these things could be sensed by the origin of Yang, they must be very valuable. How could they be casually thrown on the road for him to pick up? His own idea was very naive and laughable. Should he go to Blackwind Mountain again? There must be something with a Yang attribute in this mountain range, right? Just as he was considering whether this idea was feasible, the origin of Yang seal on his chest suddenly heated up. Yang Kai instinctively followed the direction of the origin of Yang seal and walked in that direction. Chapter 34. After walking for a short while, an incomparably huge mountain stream appeared in front of him. A gust of wind blew towards him, almost causing Yang Kai to tumble. Yang Kai regained his senses, looked up and was immediately stunned. How could it be here? In front of him was 1,000 feet wide, almost bottomless, and he didn't know how long this mountain stream was. This was High Heaven Pavilion's most dangerous and most mysterious place, Coiling Dragon Stream. Speaking of which, the existence of this mountain stream itself was very strange. High Heaven Pavilion was not located in a mountain range, but rather in a flat area. Rather than calling this mountain stream, it would be better to call it a crack in the earth, but this crack was a bit too big. Coiling Dragon Stream, High Heaven Pavilion's forbidden area. Because of the extreme danger here, with the howling wind, if one was not careful, one could easily fall. Once one fell, there was absolutely no chance of survival. Coiling Dragon Stream was also the place where High Heaven Pavilion banished traitors. For hundreds of years, whenever there was an unforgivable traitor in High Heaven Pavilion, their cultivation would be crippled and they would be banished to Coiling Dragon Stream. Yang Kai could not understand this. If they really were traitors, why not just kill them? Why did they choose to banish them? Crippling one's cultivation and being thrown here was tantamount to death. Of course, in addition to banishing traitors, Coiling Dragon Stream was also the first choice for many infatuated people to commit suicide. Within High Heaven Pavilion, there were many such stories. Most of them were touching stories of how, after the death of their lover, they did not want to live, so they jumped off Coiling Dragon Stream. The High Heaven Pavilion's male disciples all had one or two of these stories hidden in their hearts, waiting for the right opportunity to pick up a girl. As long as the beautiful woman was exhausted from listening to them, the High Heaven Pavilion's male disciples would then show off their broad chest and warm arms. That was absolutely invincible, 100 times successful. These touching stories, who knew how many tender and beautiful stories, were the favorites of High Heaven Pavilion's male disciples. The information about coiling dragonstream ran through Yang Kai's mind. He slowly walked forward a few steps and looked at the bottomless mountain stream, full of doubts. How could there be yang qi in this? Furthermore, it was different from what he had sensed earlier. Not only was there a strong yang qi below, but this yang qi was also continuously spreading upwards. Even though he was standing by the mountain stream, Kai Yang could still feel the slight warmth in the air. This warmth was not the power of the sun, but it was countless times purer than the power of the sun. After thinking for a moment, Yang Kai simply sat down on the ground and stopped thinking about the reason. Instead, he tried his best to absorb it. When practicing the true yang tactics, the higher the concentration of yang qi in an environment, the faster the cultivation speed. Now that the yuan qi in his body was scarce, the true yang qi circulated slowly, but with the help of this yang qi, his cultivation speed should be much faster. It was evening and the sun was setting in the west. Although there was not much sunlight, Yang Kai could still feel that the efficiency of his cultivation was much higher than it was a few days ago. Once he started cultivating, he unexpectedly cultivated all night. When the next morning came, Yang Kai opened his eyes to check the results of his cultivation. There was a difference between yang qi and not having yang qi. Before, although he cultivated under the sun, it took him 3 days to cultivate a little bit of yuan qi. But now, in just one night, he had achieved what he had taken 3 days. The efficiency was so high that it made people speechless. The yuan qi in his body had also grown, and was no longer like a candle in the wind and rain a few days ago. Moreover, with the growth of yuan qi, Yang Kai found that it was much easier to control than before. It was a new day. Yang Kai did not continue to practice the true yang tactics. Instead, he stood up and practiced the tempered body record for half an hour. At the edge of the coiling dragon stream, Yang Kai was sweating like rain. Although he had cultivated all night, he was not tired at all. Instead, he was full of spirit. After finishing the tempered body record, Kai Yang then finished the sweeping servant's task. Only then did he run back to the house. In any case, his 3-leaved chaos spirit flower and dead Jedi tree grass were almost used up. The incense burner could not be used for the time being. Of course, the only choice left was to cultivate here. Originally, Yang Kai wanted to find Sassafras and the others to fight, but it was strange. Since that night, Sassafras and the others seemed to have evaporated from High Heaven Pavilion, never to be seen again. Although Yang Kai had some conflicts with them, it was not a grudge. Tangling with them was just for fun and to test his growth. He did not care about their sneak attack at night. If it was him who was bullied, as long as he had the strength to retaliate, he would do the same. Sitting next to the coiling dragon stream, Yang Kai ignored the wind that was strong enough to blow a living person away. With a thought, the little yuan qi in his body shuttled back and forth in his meridians, circulating again and again. The circulation of yuan qi seemed to lead to a mysterious force, causing the pores on his skin to open up. The yang qi in the air was like a cat that smelled blood and could not wait to drill into his body. His whole body felt warm, as if he was taking a hot bath. Yang Kai felt so comfortable that his body relaxed. 2 days passed in a hurry. Yang Kai had a great harvest. After 2 days of cultivation, the yuan qi in Yang Kai's body had grown a lot. Yuan qi also had a gentle force of yang inflammation. This was the most obvious characteristic of cultivating the true yang tactics. Because the yuan qi in the body was formed by absorbing yang qi, it was naturally yang. Chapter 35. Yang Kai did not know how much yang qi other people had when they were at the tempered body 7th stage, but it should not be as much as him. The initial accumulation of yang qi was always very slow. It was only because he had the true yang tactics that he could absorb the yang qi of heaven and earth. But in this world, How many techniques like the true Yang tactics were there? On this day, when Yang Kai finished his cultivation, he slowly opened his eyes. The Yang Qi that he had been absorbing these past few days had gradually become thicker and thicker. The heat in his meridians had also become more and more intense. Yang Kai faintly felt that the Yang Qi that he had absorbed these past few days had reached the point of saturation. Once the Yang Qi was saturated in his body, it would condense into liquid form and become a drop of Yang liquid that was stored in the Dantian. This so-called Yang liquid had endless uses and could be used in battle. It could have unimaginable effects. Regarding this, Yang Kai was very much looking forward to it. Slowly opening his eyes, Yang Kai was preparing to adjust his breathing when from the corner of his eyes, he suddenly saw a person standing not far from him. Yang Kai's expression changed. He was immersed in his cultivation and did not notice when this person had arrived. This person was facing Yang Kai from the side. He was wearing a long green robe with elegant sleeves. His figure was tall and straight. Although his hair was white, his eyebrows were bright and there was a fine goatee on his chin. Looking at his age, he was about the same as old man Meng from the contribution hall. However, his temperament was completely different. The first time he saw this person, Yang Kai's mind could not help but think of the words immortal. This kind of temperament and old man Meng's roguish and lecherous temperament formed a stark contrast. Comparing the two, one was like heaven and one was like earth. At this moment, this person had one hand behind his back and the other stroking his beard. He stood there looking down at the coiling dragon stream. His expression was very strange to the point that it was somewhat complicated. This was a knowledgeable and wise man. At the same time, he was also an elder with superb martial arts skills. Yang Kai had a plan in his heart. He quickly stood up and performed a disciple's greeting. Disciple Yang Kai greets senior. Alarmed by Yang Kai's voice, the old man slowly turned around, looked at him kindly, and nodded slightly, yes. How should this disciple address you? Although he knew that this person was definitely one of High Heaven Pavilion's upper echelons, Yang Kai had never seen him before, so naturally he had to ask to avoid confusion. The old man pondered and frowned as if Yang Kai had asked a difficult question. After a while, he said, "You can just call me the 11th Patriarch." The 11th Elder? Yang Kai had some doubts. Although there were a few High Heaven Pavilion elders, it was absolutely impossible for there to be 11 of them. However, he was still an elder after all. Since he had said so, Yang Kai could only comply with his wishes. He immediately bowed again. Disciple greets 11th Elder. The 11th Elder stroked his beard and smiled. His face became more amiable as he asked gently, "Are you practicing martial arts?" Yang Kai nodded. "And it's a Yang attribute martial skill?" "Yes." The other party was definitely not weak. How could he not sense that he was absorbing the Yang Qi here? "How is your cultivation?" "I've only been cultivating for a few days, so it's okay for now." The 11th Elder asked a few more questions and Yang Kai answered them one by one. He was slightly moved in his heart. This elder was so amiable and caring for a disciple at the lowest level. It was easy for others to have a good impression of him. Seeing the 11th Elder so amiable, Yang Kai suddenly thought of a problem and said, "11th Elder, disciple has been cultivating here for many days, but there is one thing I don't understand." "Oh, let's hear it." The 11th Elder suddenly became interested. "Why is there Yang Qi overflowing from the bottom of this coiling dragon stream?" The 11th Elder smiled. "Of course it's because there is a Yang attribute treasure below." Yang Kai didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He could naturally guess this kind of thing, but he just didn't understand what was below. "Do you know how this coiling dragon stream was formed?" The 11th Elder suddenly asked an irrelevant question. Although Yang Kai didn't know what the 11th Elder meant, he could only honestly shake his head. The 11th Elder glanced at the coiling dragon stream and slowly said, "This stream was formed by a single stroke of a sword." Yang Kai's heart shook. The coiling dragon stream was over 1,000 feet wide and unfathomably deep. It was actually formed by a single stroke of a sword? If it were anyone else who told him this, Yang Kai wouldn't have believed them, but this 11th elder in front of him had no reason to lie to him. But, in the end, what kind of person could create such a powerful sword strike? What kind of realm was this person in? A few hundred years ago, High Heaven Pavilion didn't exist here. The 11th elder's eyes were deep as he spoke in a low voice. Yang Kai knew that this elder was going to tell him some unknown secret, so he held his breath and listened attentively. When the founder passed by this place, he encountered a powerful devil and the two of them fought here. No one knows the details of the battle, but at the end of the battle, the devil felt that he was no match for the founder, so he slashed out with his sword. As he spoke, the 11th elder used his hand to draw a line on the east and west sides of the coiling dragon stream. With one stroke, the coiling dragon stream was formed. The devil escaped to the bottom of the stream and the founder chased after him, spending a great deal of effort to finally kill him. However, the devil's strength was too great. Although he died, the founder couldn't feel at ease, so he established High Heaven Pavilion here and guarded it for several decades. After confirming that there was no more danger, he left. This is the origin of High Heaven Pavilion. The coiling dragon stream has been here for hundreds of years, and there has been no light at all. Later, many sinful disciples were exiled to this place, so it is possible that some kind of yang attribute treasure was born here. This is why you can absorb yang qi from here. Yang Kai nodded and asked doubtfully, "Is 11th elder also here to see that treasure?" The 11th elder's expression was strange as he slowly shook his head. "I'm not here to see the treasure, I'm here to see a person." "See a person?" The 11th elder smiled and said, "I'm old, so I have a lot to say. Let's stop here for today. Cultivate well, but don't even think about going down there. There are so many dangers down there that even I don't dare to go down." With that said, the 11th elder left. Yang Kai's heart was filled with many thoughts and doubts, but he could only keep them to himself. Slightly recovering his mood, Yang Kai continued to circulate his true yang secret art. Now that he was circulating his true yang secret art, the speed at which he absorbed yang qi was many times faster than before. A few hours later, Kai Yang suddenly felt his meridians swell up, even his dantian was full. It was as if he had eaten too much at one meal and was stuffed to the brim. Was he going to be full soon? Yang Kai wasn't surprised, but was instead happy, and began to work even harder. Half an hour later, his meridians and dantian qi suddenly became lighter, and the feeling of swelling disappeared. All of the yuan qi in his meridians poured into the dantian, and a drop of hot liquid quietly formed, dripping into the dantian. Yang Kai even heard a light dripping sound. Yang liquid. He had finally formed his first drop of yang liquid. Chapter 36. Although he had not yet cultivated to the point where he could form his divine sense, Yang Kai could still clearly feel the existence of the drop of yang liquid inside the dantian. With just a thought, the yang liquid was at his disposal. The yang liquid could be used in battle, but Yang Kai had not tried it out yet. As for how to transform it, he would have to find an opportunity to hone himself in actual combat. These experiences could not be taught by the wordless black book. Although he had suffered for many days, now that he had condensed a drop of yang liquid, Yang Kai immediately felt satisfied. With a trace of excitement, Yang Kai continued to work hard, and once again spent the majority of the night cultivating at the edge of the coiling dragon stream. When he woke up in the middle of the night, Yang Kai did not continue. These days, he had been cultivating without sleep and forgetting to eat. Although he had become much stronger, it had also put a lot of burden on his body. On the road of cultivation, one had to work and relax, so that there would not be any hidden dangers. Standing up and patting his butt, Yang Kai walked back to his small wooden hut with light steps. The wooden hut's door was left ajar, which made Yang Kai somewhat puzzled, because he remembered that he had closed the door before he left. Walking forward and gently pushing the door open, Yang Kai glanced inside, but the scene that entered his eyes made him suddenly freeze in place. It was as if the scene had been copied from a painting. It was like a dream, so unreal. In his small wooden hut, on the only small bed, there was actually a person sleeping, a woman. The moonlight poured in through several holes in the roof, illuminating the woman lying on the wooden bed. Under the moonlight, Yang Kai saw that the woman's hands were clasped together on her flat stomach, her towering chest slightly moving up and down with steady breathing. Under the moonlight, the skin on the woman's neck was crystal clear like ice, her black hair softly scattered, resting on her seemingly delicate shoulders, and her delicate earlobes exuded a different kind of temptation. Because she was lying down, this woman's slender legs, slender waist, and ample buttocks were vividly displayed in front of Yang Kai's eyes. He couldn't see her face clearly because it was covered with a thin veil, but her bright and clean forehead was decorated with a blue gem. This was the only piece of jewelry that wasn't expensive, but it perfectly highlighted her coldness and holiness. The hazy moonlight added a sense of enchanting beauty to her. She was like a fairy that had descended from the moon palace. There was not a single flaw on her body, and there was not a single part of her that did not exude a divine nobility. She lay there quietly as if she would never wake up. Inexplicably, Yang Kai felt a pang in his heart. Yang Kai was not a sentimental person, but today, this poetic and picturesque scene deeply touched him. Even with the passage of time and the passage of decades, this scene would probably never be forgotten. For some reason, Yang Kai quietly walked over, suppressing his breathing and heartbeat for fear of disturbing her. Arriving at the side of the bed, Kai Yang carefully examined her from a distance of about 10 feet away. Sure enough, it was as he had guessed. This woman was actually the senior sister who had almost bumped into him at the contribution hall that day. When he saw the veil, he faintly guessed who she was. But at that time, she didn't have such an unattainable and inviolable holiness. She was only timid and shy, pure and cute. Raising his head to look at the holes in the roof, Yang Kai chuckled lightly. These holes that had not been repaired had done a good deed today. This chuckle startled Xianxia, who was lying on the bed. When Yang Kai lowered his head again, he was surprised to find that this senior sister was staring at him with wide eyes. That pair of bright eyes first showed some confusion and anger, but soon became shy. In the blink of an eye, Xianxia's small ears turned red again. Fortunately, it was night. Although there was moonlight, Yang Kai couldn't see clearly, so Xianxia avoided a trace of embarrassment. The two of them stared at each other, one on the bed and one under the bed. Yang Kai was full of doubts, but Xianxia wanted to slap herself unconscious. Her heart was tangled. She never thought that she would be so careless and fall asleep here. Ahem! Yang Kai lightly coughed, trying to make himself look more amiable. He asked, "How should I address this senior sister?" It was unknown whether it was because of the fluctuations in his emotions or something else, but Yang Kai's voice sounded quite ethereal. In the middle of the night, when a man and a woman were alone in a room, it sounded a bit strange. That sentence seemed to be asking, "How should I address this young lady?" It was a complete lecher's tone. Xianxia's face was as red as blood, but she still sat up from the bed in a reserved manner. She reached out to stroke her hair and softly said, "My surname is Xia." Xianxia didn't have the nerve to say her name. She felt that today was too embarrassing. "So it's Senior Sister Xia. Senior Sister Xia, why are you looking for me?" If it wasn't for something, why would such a celestial beauty come to his shabby little wooden house? Hearing Yang Kai's question, Xianxia remembered her purpose. She hurriedly took out a package from beside her and calmed down. She said, "This afternoon, a hunter from the foot of Black Wind Mountain came to look for you, but you didn't come back until it was time to light the lanterns. I saw that he was in a hurry to go back, so I went to ask him. That hunter said thank you for saving his life and told me to give this package to you. He said that he would personally thank you when he had time." Hearing her say this, Yang Kai immediately knew who that person was. Hunter Xianxia. The last time he went to Black Wind Mountain to pick herbs, he saved the father and son. Yang Kai reached out to take the package and nodded. "So it's like this." Xianxia raised her eyes and quietly looked at him. She said, "I was asked to wait here for you to come back. I didn't want to wait, so I waited, waiting and waiting, so I fell asleep." It was really embarrassing to say this out loud. It really felt like she had entrusted the wrong person. Moreover, She even slept in someone else's bed. Young Kai already knew what happened today. He laughed and said, "Senior sister, I'm sorry for troubling you. Next time, junior brother will definitely come back earlier." Xianxia didn't know if it was her imagination or if the other party deliberately said this. Anyway, these words didn't sound right. It was like a husband making a promise to his wife before going out. Lightly biting her lips, Xianxia said with some dissatisfaction, "Whether you come back early or not, it has nothing to do with me. I've already given you the package, so I'm leaving." After saying this, she twisted her waist, stamped her feet, and disappeared. Only a wisp of fragrance lingered in the room and at the tip of a certain person's nose. This senior sister Xia was really shy. Thinking of the scene just now, Yang Kai felt a little warm. He came back to his senses and opened the package left by Xianxia. Yang Kai found 2 sets of cyan robes inside. These robes were sewn together needle by needle. The needle and thread were densely packed and the handiwork was very delicate. Yang Kai guessed that it was made by Xianxia's wife. Xianxia was very considerate. Last time when he was fighting the flowerback spider, his clothes were torn by the monster beast. It was because of this that he brought 2 sets of clothes for him today. Yang Kai smiled slightly, put away the things, and then lay on the bed. That night, Yang Kai slept very soundly. Chapter 37. The next day, Yang Kai was woken up by a knock on the door. When he got up and opened the door, he found that there was no one outside. Instead, there was a familiar figure running away quickly. Li Yuntian's figure. What is this guy doing? Yang Kai was a little confused. Just as he was puzzled, he found a letter on the ground by the door. He bent down to pick it up and opened it. Yang Kai didn't know whether to laugh or cry. There were some words on the letter, and they were written with fresh blood. "Brother, I haven't seen you for a long time. Junior brother misses you very much. I specially invite you to Black Wind Forest to have a chat. I hope that brother will not be stingy." Junior brother Sassafras personally wrote this letter. These words were bright red, and were indeed written with fresh blood. He just didn't know if it was chicken blood or some other kind of blood. Yang Kai guessed that Sassafras wouldn't harm himself. There was another line of words at the end. It was different from the previous genteel words. This line of words was much more crude and direct. "Come if you have the guts." These 4 words were written with a majestic aura, and the tip of the pen carried a bone-deep resentment. It was full of provocation. Sassafras was probably afraid that his invitation would be ignored by Yang Kai, so he added a sentence at the end. "Young people are easily provoked." Sassafras had experienced this countless times. He had long become a doctor and was very experienced. Holding the bloody letter in his hand, Yang Kai slowly shook his head. Yang Kai didn't take Sassafras' provocation to heart. Maybe Sassafras really did bear a grudge against him, but Yang Kai didn't. Their states of mind were different, and their horizons were different. Yang Kai only saw this as an alchemy test to test the results of his cultivation. Although his initial meeting with Sassafras had led to some unpleasantness, and he had repeatedly come to find trouble with him, Yang Kai found that Sassafras was not a bad person in nature. He was just a little spoiled brat. If you were on good terms with this kind of person, then he would also be very good to you. If you were on bad terms with him, then he would be like a maggot in a tarsal bone, pestering you to no end. He had not seen Sassafras and the rest for the past few days. They were probably hiding from him. At this moment, for some reason, he suddenly had the confidence to defeat him and came to issue a challenge. Initially, Yang Kai didn't want to pay any attention to Sassafras. However, after giving it some thought while he was sweeping the floor, he decided to pay him a visit. Sassafras was undoubtedly a despicable person. He didn't follow the rules of the sect to issue a challenge. Instead, he issued a challenge to him. He was probably planning to gang up on him. The location he chose was also very clear. The Black Wind Forest was located at the foot of the Black Wind Mountain. It was a pine forest. It was the perfect place to set up a trap. Although there were quite a few people in their group, only Sassafras had reached Tempered Body Stage 9th level. Li Yuntian was at Tempered Body Stage 7th level, while the rest were at tempered body stage 5th or 6th level. Yang Kai didn't know if he could deal with this kind of opponent. However, Yang Kai needed a proper battle to test his cultivation. It was different from a battle between fellow sect members. At this moment, Sassafras and the rest were waiting for him on the path from Sky Tower to the Black Wind Forest. The group didn't set up an ambush, but instead stood there valiantly. Thinking back to a few days ago when he was suddenly ambushed and fell unconscious, Sassafras's expression turned ugly. That night, he didn't know what happened. The brothers who went to Yang Kai's hut suddenly fainted. Everything happened so inexplicably. They didn't wake up until the next morning. Although it was summer and they wouldn't feel cold even if they slept in the wild, they couldn't stand the mosquitoes. When they woke up, they felt as if there were hundreds of blisters on their bodies. They didn't know how much of their blood had been sucked away by the mosquitoes. For the next few days, Sassafras and the rest were bedridden. They were extremely weak. A few days ago, when they recovered, the brothers ran out of Sky Tower under the lead of Sassafras. Since they couldn't provoke Yang Kai, why couldn't they hide? It wasn't until yesterday that Li Yuntian learned a new martial skill that Sassafras's desire for revenge was reignited. This was why Li Yuntian sent a challenge to Yang Kai, inviting him to the Black Wind Forest to fight. The reason why they didn't challenge him in the sect was because Sassafras didn't think that Li Yuntian would win. If Li Yuntian lost again, they would all rush up and beat Yang Kai up. They wouldn't care about the sect's rules and morality. They would just beat Yang Kai up until he became a pig's head. If they couldn't get rid of this anger, they would panic. Just as he was thinking, Li Yuntian hurried over. "Did you deliver it?" Sassafras asked, his eyes filled with ruthlessness. "Yes." "Good, let's wait for that bastard to come." After waiting for a long time and not seeing Yang Kai's figure, Sassafras's expression became impatient. He walked back and forth and cursed. Could it be that bastard doesn't have the guts to come? Just as he cursed, Li Yuntian suddenly said, "Young Master Su, someone's coming." Sassafras's spirit was lifted. He thought that Yang Kai really came out to die, but when he looked closely, it wasn't Yang Kai. "Young Master Su, it's the people from Storm House." Li Yuntian stared at the group of people walking over and said, "The one leading them seems to be Qing Xiaofeng." "Qing Xiaofeng?" Sassafras's expression turned cold. He raised his head and saw Qing Xiaofeng leading a group of people walking over. "Young Master Su, do you want to avoid them?" Li Yuntian asked hesitantly. He knew that Sassafras and this Qing Xiaofeng had a lot of conflicts. The two of them were the leaders of their respective sections. In the past few years, they had clashed many times and won and lost some. If they were to meet now, there would definitely be some friction. "Avoid what?" Sassafras coldly snorted. "Does he have the right to make this young master give way?" Li Yuntian didn't try to stop him. He knew that this matter concerned one's reputation. Young Master Su was such a strong person, why would he give way? However, the other side had a lot of people. If they were to fight, he was afraid that his side would be at a disadvantage. While they were talking, Qing Xiaofeng had already seen Sassafras in the distance. Immediately, his expression became happy. He said something to the people behind him and couldn't help but quicken his pace. Not long after, the two groups of people met. The road that Sassafras and the others were occupying was the only way for High Heaven Pavilion to reach Black Wind Forest. However, it was also the only way for Stormy House to reach Black Wind Forest. In fact, it was a four-way intersection. One way led to High Heaven Pavilion, one way led to Storm House, and one way led to Blood Group. Sassafras and the others were blocking Qing Xiaofeng's path. I was wondering who was so blind. So it was Sassafras. Qing Xiaofeng walked forward and looked at Sassafras with contempt. His voice was somewhat strange. Sassafras rolled his eyes and still stood there like a javelin. He didn't even have the mood to respond. This kind of disregard made Qing Xiaofeng's face slightly unhappy. "Little brother Qing, others are ignoring you." A tender laugh sounded. This voice was clear and melodious. It was very pleasant to hear, but it gave people a feeling of abandonment. Su Mu followed the voice and looked in that direction. He saw a charming young girl flash out from behind Qing Xiaofeng. This young girl was wearing a loose top, half of her pink shoulders were exposed, shining with a seductive luster like porcelain. Her skirt covered her perky buttocks, half of which was white and slender. Her jade-like feet were small and exquisite, and her 10 sparkling and smooth fingers were very eye-catching. Chapter 38. The girl's age was about the same as Sassafras's group. Even though she wasn't much older than them, but when she walked, she bent her waist 3 times with every step she took. 10,000 types of amorous feelings gathered on her body. Her chest was also fiercely swaying, making people dizzy. At such a young age, she faintly had the temperament of a mature woman, but this temperament wasn't completely mature yet, making it somewhat unnatural. Who may err? Seeing this girl, Sassafras's expression couldn't help but change. His pair of eyes couldn't help but roll over this girl's body, fiercely swallowing a mouthful of saliva. If Sassafras was like this, then Li Yuntian and the others were even more unbearable. Pairs of eyes were like locusts, tightly biting onto Hu Mei Er's body, lingering on that beautiful figure. Their breathing gradually became heavy, making them look ugly. Although the people of Jiang who didn't care about trifles. But a girl dressed like Hu Mei Er was extremely rare, not to mention she was only a 15 or 16-year-old girl. Her skin was delicate, and her body's lethality was incomparable. Li Yuntian and the others were at the peak of their youth, full of vitality. Suddenly seeing such an exciting scene, one could imagine their mood. Not only did the impudent gazes of the High Heaven Pavilion disciples not annoy Hu Mei Er, she even seemed to enjoy it. Covering her mouth with her hand, she charmingly laughed. So little brother Su knows big sister? Sassafras quickly coughed and forced himself to look away, his face somewhat red. Of course I know. Cheng Xiaofeng was the leader of the Tempered Body Disciples of Stormhouse, and this Hu Mei Er was the leader of the Tempered Body Disciples of Blood Group. This girl's identity was also extraordinary. She was the youngest daughter of the Blood Group's leader. However, her reputation was not very good. Blood Group Gang's gang leader, Hu Man, did not care about her and allowed her to stir up trouble outside. Although this Hu Mei Er was young, the number of ministers under her was innumerable. But why was she together with Cheng Xiaofeng today? Could it be that the latter was also her guest? Thinking of this, Sassafras was both envious and carefree. Envious of Cheng Xiaofeng's luck with women, carefree because he was subdued by a girl. With that in mind, Sassafras couldn't help but reveal a strange smile on his face. When he looked at Xiaofeng again, his eyes were filled with contempt. This gaze made Cheng Xiaofeng very uncomfortable. What's more, the eyes of the High Heaven Pavilion group were still on Hu Mei Er, making Cheng Xiaofeng even more uncomfortable. Immediately, he took a few steps forward and stood in front of Hu Mei Er, blocking the High Heaven Pavilion disciples' impudent gazes. This seemingly careless action made Hu Mei Er purse her lips and chuckle. Sassafras, tell your men to get out of the way. Cheng Xiaofeng's face was gloomy, and he didn't even bother to be polite. Sassafras chuckled coldly. Let's go our separate ways. Are we in your way by standing here? Cheng Xiaofeng's face became more and more gloomy. What if I don't? Sassafras was tit for tat. The two of them didn't just have a day or two of grudges, so they were quite familiar with each other's methods. How could Sassafras be afraid of him? Little brother Cheng, little brother Su, standing here doesn't matter. We can just take a detour. No one will say anything about you. Hu Mei Er suddenly interjected. It seemed like she was helping them out, but in reality, she was fanning the flames. Sassafras cursed bitch in his heart. This woman's mind was really insidious. As a member of the Blood Group, she naturally wanted High Heaven Pavilion and Stormhouse to fight to the death. Cheng Xiaofeng heard Hu Mei Er's words, and his originally hesitant expression became firm. He sneered. If you don't get out of the way, you will regret it. Since he wanted to show off in front of Hu Mei Er, how could Cheng Xiaofeng endure? Hu Mei Er's lips curled into a smile as she looked at the two of them with interest. Then, she took a few steps back without leaving a trace. If you have the guts, then try. Sassafras sneered at Cheng Xiaofeng. Li Yuntian and the others all stepped forward and stood behind him. You asked for it. Cheng Xiaofeng suddenly laughed. He waved his hand and said to the people behind him, Fight. As soon as he finished speaking, Cheng Xiaofeng rushed in front of Sassafras and punched towards Sassafras' face. Sassafras sneered and met the attack with a palm. When the fist and palm collided, Sassafras was forced to take a few steps back before he could stabilize himself. On the contrary, Cheng Xiaofeng's face was calm and his body didn't even sway. You broke through to the initial element stage? Su Mu's complexion changed greatly. In the exchange of blows just now, he could feel traces of Yuan Qi from Cheng Xiaofeng's fist. Compared to his own, who was at the 9th stage of the body-tempering realm, the Yuan Qi within his body was much denser. This was clearly a strength that could only be displayed after breaking through to the initial Yuan stage. Cheng Xiaofeng rushed towards Sassafras while laughing. Sassafras, you and I started training on the same day, but there are differences between people. From now on you, Sassafras, can only chase after my footsteps. Don't ever think of surpassing me. Sassafras's expression was ashen and his heart was bitter. This feeling of being surpassed by Cheng Xiaofeng made him feel even more resentful than being humiliated by Yang Kai. In the blink of an eye, Cheng Xiaofeng was already within reach. Sassafras came back to his senses, but he didn't dare to be careless. He fully activated his tempered body 9th level strength, but he still couldn't block Cheng Xiaofeng's attack. Before Yang Kai reached the Black Wind Forest, he heard the sound of fighting from afar. It was mixed with the cursing and shouting of Li Yuntian and the others. Their voices were filled with humiliation and grief. After listening for a moment, Yang Kai felt that something was wrong. Sassafras and the others seemed to have encountered some kind of trouble. Noticing this, Yang Kai couldn't help but quicken his pace. When he reached the four-way intersection, he was shocked to find Sassafras lying on the ground with a bloody nose and a swollen face. Li Yuntian and the others had also gathered around Sassafras, desperately trying to protect him. However, it was to no avail. The other side had a lot of people, and their overall strength was higher than Li Yuntian's group. The High Heaven Pavilion disciples couldn't even take care of themselves, so how could they save Sassafras? Do you admit defeat? Cheng Xiaofeng punched Sassafras in the eye. The corner of Sassafras's eye was cracked. Admit defeat, my ass. Sassafras spat a mouthful of blood on Cheng Xiaofeng's face. Do you admit defeat? Another punch landed on Su Mu's cheek, which was now swollen. I admit defeat. I admit defeat to your 18 generations of ancestors. Sassafras was panting, but his mouth was tough. Do you admit defeat? Admit defeat to your grandmother's ass. Cheng Xiaofeng didn't say much to Sassafras. He just punched him and asked, Do you admit defeat? Sassafras's reply was always vulgar and vicious curses. This made Cheng Xiaofeng's punches become heavier and heavier, more and more violent. Yang Kai stood not far away, quietly watching. He found that Sassafras had some backbone. Looking at Sassafras now was like looking at himself in the past. When facing an unstoppable enemy, although he was covered in wounds, he would never compromise. This wasn't stupidity, but a kind of perseverance. Yang Kai didn't want to make a move. Sassafras must have offended someone, and now he was being targeted for revenge. Not only did he not have any friendship with him, but he also had a conflict with him. There was no need to get involved in this mess. However, he approved of Sassafras' unyielding character. At this moment, Cheng Xiaofeng was also tired from the beating. Although Su Mu's face was bruised and swollen, his eyes were cracked, and his mouth was full of blood, the look of disdain in his eyes did not change in the slightest. Hu Mei Er interrupted, Brother Cheng, let him go. Brother Su has a backbone. Sister likes people like him. As soon as she said this, Sassafras couldn't help but turn around and curse, Bitch! Cheng Xiaofeng laughed coldly, Backbone? I like it too. As he said this, he picked up a stone from the ground and aimed it at Sassafras's head. Welcome to Legends of Cultivation, audiobooks, where we bring ancient fantasy to life through storytelling. Follow the rise of heroes who defy fate, unlock mystical powers, and battle across celestial realms. Our audiobooks are crafted for fans of Chinese cultivation novels, filled with battles, breakthroughs, and legendary artifacts. Subscribe and be part of an unforgettable journey into the realm of immortality.